for being part of this movement, the movement of learning, movement of connecting, of growing, and making sure that we learn together. So you're most welcome. Today we are going to explore one of the important topics of our season, which is personal branding. Earlier on, I was trying to reflect and say, this aspect of personal branding, is it something that has been there before? Which is yes, but the topic even has become more common, especially in the era of social media. So we just want to explore and see how can we be able to leverage on the opportunities that are there, that the internet provides us, that physical events provide us, that physical communities provide us to be able to grow our personal brands, more especially beyond employment. And I'm glad to have my brother here, Mr. Banio Robert, who has joined us today to be able to share. Earlier on, I was indicating that the person you're going to listen from is a person who has lived what he's going to share. Nobert has been in this space of post-employment for some time now, having been in his employment and left employment to join this other side. So I'm very, very, very excited myself to be able to learn from Mr. Banio Robert. But before I go into inviting him, I just want to share about Mr. Banio. So Mr. Banio is a life coach, a corporate trainer, a conference speaker, a consultant. Recently is again elevated himself in the space of mentorship, especially focusing on supporting boys to become men. He's the co-founder and team leader of Capacity Beyond Limited, where he leads the team that designs and delivers impactful programs in aspects of team building, mindset change, entrepreneurship, and personal development, among others. He has served quite a number of clients, which include UNSCR, Bank of Uganda, KCB Bank, Gulu University, Uganda Christian University, Codaid South Sudan, ZOA Netherlands, among others. He also runs a masterclass, which he calls the MEP Masterclass, which covers mindset, entrepreneurship, and personal development. And it helps people to be able to prepare for a life beyond formal employment. Nobert has also, like indicated, he's been in the employment space, and by the time he left, according to his LinkedIn, he was a program coordinator for AD East Africa program under Horizon T3000, and he served in quite a number of other places. And he holds a master's in agroecology, as well as a bachelor's degree in agriculture, and he served in quite a number of other platforms as chairperson of board for Gulu University West Nile Students Association, Students and Alumni Association, among other positions. Nobert, I know that I've just randomly read your speech from somewhere, and I want to give you the opportunity to be able to share something that I might have failed to capture within that introduction. You're most welcome, Nobert.
Okay. Thank you so much, Samuel. I seem to get an echo of myself. I don't know what's wrong. Okay. Beth, I think, okay. I think the echo is not there anymore. Perfect. So you've spoken so much already about me, and I would like to keep it at that level and just say I'm glad to be here, and I really look forward to sharing.
All right. So great. Good to have you. And as we have kind come here to be able to learn about building a personal brand beyond employment, and more specifically, how to stay relevant, visible, and opportunity ready. And I remember when I reached out to you to host you through as a speaker, this is a topic that you indicated you're very passionate about. So you could just take us through what your thoughts about this topic, and why this topic, and why is it important, and how has it been of key in terms of impacting you as an individual.
Great. So the topic about personal branding is very close to my heart, because when I look back, when I was still in formal employment working at Horizon 3000, my role involved coordinating. When I took on that role in 2018, I was overseeing about 6 NGOs in East Africa that were being funded by Horizon 3000 to implement a project. So occasionally I would travel from Uganda across to the other countries, but also organize training programs that would bring staff of these 6 organizations together for what we call refresher trainings or other forms of trainings. And it involved bringing various consultants here and there. There were isolated cases where you would see somebody doing work, and you're like, but I could have done it better, you know? But you are not the one there. There's a reason why that person is there. There's some work they did that made it possible for them to be thought about when there was an opportunity. For somebody to be able to say, you know what, let us bring so-and-so to come and do this work, and so-and-so to come and do this work. There was another second thing I noticed as I went from one platform to another, is that there would be spaces where they are telling somebody, for this amount of work, we see you've asked for 1.5, but can you reduce it to 800 or to 1 million? And then there would be another person somewhere who is being begged that, please, we only have 2 million. Can you please accept this? And so what was it that was setting other people apart, whereby things that they ask for, people think this is too much, and then there are spaces where others are being begged. And what really made a difference in, I hope I'm still there.
Yes, you
Okay.
had gone off a bit.
Yes, great. So in early 2019, I think 19 or 2020, uh, Daniel Chaudhry, who is a long-term friend, you may have known Daniel Chaudhry, one of Africa's leading sales consultants. So Daniel Chaudhry is somebody I've known since 2012, when I was the guild speaker of Gould University, 2012, 2013. And Daniel has always had one key message. He's the sales warrior. He branded himself as the sales guy. And I saw his career rise from one level to another. So we invited him to do a team building event at Horizon 3000. And he spoke something about why it was important to build a personal brand. I don't know what other people picked out of that session, but there are always these moments when you think, I think this one was meant for me. I think this one was meant for me. And it began to be clear to me that I was where I was depending on the level of my own brand. That there are people whose brands are more powerful, and life gives them more spaces, more opportunities, more benefits. And those that hold back and don't step out to build such a powerful brand, they deny themselves opportunities, like probably I was denying for myself. And maybe lastly, a bit of background to that, why I'm passionate about this is, maybe some people here might relate with this. If you haven't, may you never go through the same experience. So in 2017, I was coordinating a program by Danida, implemented in West Nile region. So the organization that was implementing one of those components was called UNADA, and I was in charge of their programs in West Nile. So I had a car given to me. There was a nice Land Cruiser. I had a driver assigned to me. I had an office assistant. They even gave me a motorcycle and said, when you want to move around, this is for you. So in my own world, I was this big guy. I had this title. And probably when I went home, my village people were like, our son has made it. So there was a sense of false success in my world, and which many times I get trapped up in informal employment. It felt like I had arrived. And power here is disturbing. So when I disappear, just know power is disturbing. So at that time, the project came to an end by the end of that year. And I had a son who had just been born in November, a month before the project closed. And the opportunities that had come that year, which I did not take up because I thought I should be here with this organization to see everything come to an end. And Samuel, I can tell you something happened today. I look back at it. I can also see how that was preparing me for the times now. And what happened was that for 7 months, life just refused. Opportunities were not coming. I would do an interview and they say, you're too competent. We can't take you because if we hire you, somebody will come and poach you away. We can't pay you that figure. Sometimes I'll do an interview and I practically fail it. I'm nervous. Sometimes I would not be shortlisted. There would be moments when I would pass an interview and they say, you see, the recruitment has been suspended. So things just kept refusing. And I was depressed. I went through a lot of difficulty at that time. And I remember I would be watching TV in the night, but I can't tell what I'm watching. I'm trying to sleep during the day and I'm isolating myself from the public. And one day I even showed up for a friend's wedding who had requested me to be part of the groom's team, but I was too broke to buy shoes. I was too broke to contribute towards that wedding. And the clothes that I put on that day after the wedding, they had to be taken away because these ones were just given to help me. And that was an embarrassing moment for me that I couldn't take good care of my family. Why? And what had looked like success, because I have, with great humility, I've been good at my job, actually. I've really been, I've been that employee. Almost every employer would be like, I'm honored to have Nobert on the team. And actually, when I was about to leave Horizon 3000, there were a lot of meetings with me to really understand, am I serious about leaving? Because it was just a decision to move on and all that. But at that time, I had not built a brand beyond the boundaries of my organization where I was working. So when the contract ended and I was at home, it was very difficult for the general public to think of me as somebody who was competent enough that could serve them, to be called as a consultant for opportunities. And so all my greatness within the confines of my ability had just been limited within the boundaries of the organization, which I think is one of those big risks that we get ourselves into. We think we become so good and then we keep so quiet about what we are. And sometimes we don't even have clarity on what should we stand for, and that is not defined. And so when a job comes to an end, it's very difficult for other people to think of us as resourceful, especially people who have not worked directly with us. Sometimes even those who worked with you, they themselves are looking for opportunities. So if they come across one, they first take care of themselves. You are not even the first to come up in their mind. But if you had made enough noise out there, the world knew this is what you stand for long enough, it reaches the level where the tables are turned. Instead of you looking for opportunities began kind of would begin looking for you. And so I then connected all these things in summary to realize that it was time for me to start telling the world a certain story about the things that mattered to me, what I wanted to commit my life to do, and the change that I wanted to bring in society, the competence that I carried, the things I was passionate about. I began to see myself as a gift to the world and began to consider it criminal to be quiet. And because that truly is the case. And from experiences I've had, the lives that have changed, the families that are better, the people who have started side hustles that are working, and those different things. Today, I look at everything, results that have come from my work, and I just realized how evil I had always been. For the Catholics, there's a prayer for that they usually say when the Mass is beginning. They say, I confess to Almighty God and to my brothers and sisters that I've sinned in my thoughts and in my words, in what I have done and in what I've failed to do. And sometimes it's only when you do what you had failed to do that you realize the trouble you had caused the world by not doing it all along. And why personal branding is very powerful for me is it gives us an opportunity to serve the world, because people can look at you. You begin to be like on a hill, and every eye can look at you and they say, you see, Samuel is there, Sam carries this potential. And if I have a need, I can come to him. And this is the solution he can provide. And when we are quiet, we deny the world such an opportunity of providing value. And in return, we deny ourselves the opportunity of getting all the benefits that will come from being valuable. So let me first pause there and get back to you. Yes.
Awesome, awesome. We are we've started learning, and you've started getting deep into the message, which is something that we really, really want to appreciate you. And sharing from your personal story is something that comes out very, very, very what can I say? It's practical. You're getting practical, and which is very good. So I want again to use this opportunity to welcome everyone who has just joined us. We are 43 here, and we don't take it for granted that you've set your time to be part of this conversation. We are discussing building personal brands beyond employment, and we want to see how can you stay relevant, visible, and opportunity ready. Now, you might be in employment and you're wondering whether this conversation is for you. I want to tell you that whatever Banio is sharing with us this evening, or morning, if you're watching this in the morning, it's something that is relevant to you, especially you who is in employment, because some of these things that he's sharing are things that many people wish they knew before they actually jumped ship. And I mentioned earlier on that in this alien age, we are finding ourselves here and there moving from employment to self-employment, or just losing our jobs where we don't even have control over. So it's very important for you as an individual to see, how can I create my brand beyond just my job? Today I was sharing a post about introduce yourself without mentioning the title. And it is something that seems to be obvious, but until when you start to introduce yourself and you realize that you can't dwell with your title. So it just becomes that the title has now become part of you, or the organization where you work has become part of you, that you can't get yourself detached, or you don't find yourself relevant without mentioning what your position and what you work for. So it is something that is really absurd. And I love the fact that Banio has gotten into this topic, and he's sharing something from his journey. So I want to hand over back to you, Mr. Banio, to just take us through, especially on what are some of those practical steps that you took in your journey to building your personal brand.
Yes, thank you very much, Samuel. And okay, let me turn my video back. Yes, great. So, and before I dive into what you've just asked, some of those steps that I took, these are a few things I really wanted to say about, what is a brand? Why is it more important for everybody at this stage to actually think deep about a brand? And then I will go into that. So, but I want to start by why it is exceedingly important right now. You see, I was looking at some statistics. About 700,000 Ugandans, just as an example, are ready for opportunities every year, but only about 13% of them get hired. What that means is every year more people are coming out ready for opportunities, and very few get it. And as time goes by, competition is going to grow. And it's going to grow so much that changes will start to happen in terms of who really, really gets a chance. If all of you can remember, in the 80s and 90s, some of you were probably not there. I was also not really that, in those early years. But if our parents can tell us stories, many of them, by the time they finished school, there was a job waiting for them. So there are three core things upon which people give us opportunities. One is your qualification. What did you study? Second is what is the skill? In other words, what can you really, really do well? Number three is your brand. Your brand is a question of who are you, according to how society has perceived you, much more than that. And at that time, your qualification was number one. Then years went by and it reached a level where the question was not really about qualification. It was no longer like our parents who just finished and then they had a job waiting for them because somebody has started a particular course. So there was a shift, and that shift involved people starting to ask questions like, but what can so and so do? So the issue of skill became number one, qualification became number two. And in the most recent years, the last few years, your personal brand is becoming number one, your skill is becoming number two, and your qualification is becoming number three. And so when Samuel was introducing me here, he said that I studied agriculture, I did agroecology, but today I'm doing things in the space of psychology. I'm doing things related to human resource in a way because I do team building events for a number of banks. I think I've done events for Centenary Bank for the last 3 years in a row, several of their branches. And I also am running programs that are preparing people for life beyond formal employment. And now our team is running mentorship for young men, which is basically what we do for the adults that we've customized the context of young people. These are not things that I studied in class. These are things that I've had to deliberately decide to learn and say, I want to improve myself so that I'm so knowledgeable in these spaces. And I can say in the last 4 years, nobody has asked me for a transcript. Actually, it's already 5. Nobody has asked, what did you study? Well, can you prove? Because by the time opportunities come, somebody has spoken about my competence and what I've done. And so you get an opportunity and they're like, if this guy is gifted at what he does, you guys are really missing on him. And so since 2022, and I share this with great humility, I've had the opportunity to do over 100 engagements, About 70 of those have been referrals. About 70 of those have been referrals. And what would make a person think about you and refer you if you have not stood for something prominent over time and you've not told your story loud and long enough and thrived at the things that you do whenever life gave you an opportunity? Because there are so many names there. Why would your name come up in the minds of people? And so because of that, and another reason here for all of us is this. When Trump took over, he announced that USAID funds would be cut, the donations to many countries. And many of our friends lost jobs. I know more than 20 people close to me in one or the other who were affected by that. The bad news I have for all of us is this, that in the next 3 to 4 years, 80% of existing NGO opportunities will not be there. The world is going to go more in the direction of trade. So you either start a business or work in a business that has begun. And if you're right now in an NGO space, for example, what is going to make somebody in a business sector pick you from there and bring you to their space? Have you prepared for such a moment? So those become questions. And so Samuel was asking me, what steps did I take? So before that, this is my idea. Maybe 3 or 4 things around a brand is this. I usually say your brand is, if people could not remember your name, what else can they say about you? Like if Samuel was trying to introduce me to somebody, wanted to talk about me, and my name is not there, what can Samuel say to somebody else and the other person instantly recognizes and says, no, I know you're talking about Nobert. Some people are known for how they dress. We used to know Balaam for the t-shirts that he was putting on. We've known President Museveni for his cap. We've known Amos Wekesa for standing for things around tourism. We know people for different things. When your name comes up in conversations, do people quickly recognize that you're the one they're talking about? Or they say, you just leave that one. I don't even know who you are talking about. And some of us are like that because the world struggles to really understand who we are and what we stand for and all that. And the other bit would be this. If people knew they could say anything about you and you'd never find out, what would they say? Somebody was saying that there was a scenario, someone's name came up in a meeting, and another person was like, why don't we get so-and-so to do that? And then they said, but that guy is your friend. What do you have to say? And this guy said, no, that guy is not serious. So just know there have been opportunities that were looking for you, but somebody never thought you stood for something prominent. What are the components of a person's brand in my basic understanding? One is what skill do you possess that allows you to provide a product or a service with such great excellence that your name becomes a topic of conversation. Number two is what are the attributes of your behavior that people want to associate you with? Those are two important aspects for me when it comes to building a brand, because there has to be some excellence around what you do that makes people really, really want to be a part of your life. Because every time you recommend someone to do something, when they perform well, great, they can take the praise. But if they do something that is terrible, you who recommend and now you take responsibility. Why would people recommend you for a job if you have not demonstrated excellence over time? And another thing is this: people are always watching. When we think that people are not watching, they are not listening, we need to remember that people are actually watching, they are listening. And so we want to be very intentional about what we put out there. And another thing I would say, how do you know you have a brand? When you show up in a gathering, are there people who say he has arrived? Or when they say he has arrived, people are like, but who is he? Do you always have to introduce yourself? It's like people who in a home have to say, don't you know I'm the man of the home? Every time you have to remind people that you're the man of the home, probably you stop being the man of the home. Don't you know I'm your father? Every time you have to remind them of that, probably you stop being that in one or the other. That there must be things about us that stand out so prominently that we need no introduction, because people can confidently say, you know what, this guy is awesome. This lady is awesome. So maybe back to some of the steps. What steps did I really take? So I have a theory that I call it the IEC approach. So the IEC approach to building a personal brand is I stands for intentionality. It means that become very intentional. What does that mean? That you reach a level where you stop wanting to do everything. You narrow down and say that I want to be known for this. So the concept of specialization is critical in building a brand, because I just want you to imagine this. If you showed up in a hospital and when they are just about to take you for surgery, somebody says, hey, another person who had said, doctor, are you ready? Then the second guy comes into that room and instead is asking, engineer, how are you? And then you start looking around, who are they referring to? And then the doctor nods his head and says as well. And as you're there, somebody comes and calls him a carpenter. And as you're there, somebody comes and asks, do you still have the other saucepans you're selling? And another person comes and says, how are you, Afande? How confident would you be in proceeding with that surgery? Would you not run away? Would you not start to think that this one is fake? Because humans associate competence with specialization. If somebody has been known for standing for something particular, the world trusts them more. If you probably need advice on nutrition in Uganda, you're likely to look for Dr. Kasenene because he stood for that over time. If you need around tourism, you're going to invite Amos Wekesa to give his opinions. If you need something around human rights, you're probably going to speak to Opio, the lawyer. So somehow the question for you becomes this: if there were opportunities within the spaces of your competence, would people remember your name so that they say, when they need an expert opinion on a topic, would your name even come up? Number two is, if people are asking questions, when your name is being discussed, is there anything else people talk about you? Because for most of us, everything we do is top secret, and all that. So number one is intentional. Decide what you want to be known for. After you have analyzed opportunities that are out there, after you've analyzed which problems you really want to solve. And my own journey was that there were very limited opportunities. I mean, I was struggling to find people who were providing training and coaching, especially in this space of preparing people for life beyond formal employment, especially in such a structured way with a clear curriculum and all that. One of the very few people I came across earlier towards 2019, 2018, I bumped onto Samuel, who was doing especially career coaching. And there have been people like, Ochichi of Enterprise Uganda. Those are some of the people who have made names. I was looking for help and I couldn't find it. And like says, be careful what you say, because you might find yourself in trying to find.
No, but you're breaking somehow. I don't know if it's on my side. I know, but I think you're trying to break. I don't know if the rest of the audience is able to hear Nobert. Can you confirm in the chat box?
From my end, I'm not getting Nobert.
Okay, Nobert, I think Nobert's microphone has not, maybe internet could be having an issue. Nobert, could you just try to? Okay, I think he's getting off and coming back. But once again, this is to appreciate everyone who is joining through the call. And I believe that you're learning one or two things in there. One of the things that is very important in this airline age is your personal brand. And from the sharings, as you see Nobert sharing about the personal brand, is that you do not need, a personal brand is just like an umbrella. You don't buy it on a rainy day. You need it even before you actually get to that time when you need it. And this is not either you're employed or you're into self-employment. Your personal brand is your name. And there are good books that teach us that your name is more worth than any aspect of your wealth, because the name is going to open for you doors. We've seen parents who have built names that their children have not have to do not have to struggle much. By just the mention of the parent's name, they have an entry, or the doors are open for them. So the question is, who is opening up opportunities for you, and what name are you building? Norbert just mentioned something that's very critical that I resonate with. You see, in the job search today, it's more important to build the name than even to beautify your CV. I'm going to give you two scenarios. One, you have two candidates. There's candidate A who has applied, and based on their CV, they're really so good, based on what you've seen on your CV. Then you have candidate B, who may be a bit average, but you've had somebody speak about them greatly. When you look at their books of account, kind of like what they studied, academic books, they might have a second class upper. The person you're comparing with them has a first class, and maybe they went to what kind of university. And then there's this person who is your B, that somebody has spoken so much about, and say, if you give this guy a chance, you're not going to regret. I've worked with this guy for the past 5 years, and they deliver on time. They are so committed on their work. They are very good at team dynamics. believe me, the person who is B will have more advantage than the other person who has a beautiful CV with quite a number of qualifications. Why? Because the other person, their age is the brand. So it's very important that in this early age, what is going to keep you afloat? What is going to keep you in there is, what are you doing every day to ensure that you're building a brand that can help you stand the storms? Right now, I'm employed, but I'll tell you, if I lost my job tomorrow, God forbid, I have a starting point. Some of you follow me on LinkedIn, and you know that I do quite a number of either content or whatever I do online there. That is a foundation for myself, that I can stand on that foundation to be able to build an income or to find another opportunity. That is the power of a personal brand. You can work for an organization for over 10 years or 20 years, but what you go out with is your brand, is the personal brand. Because once everything is remote from you, maybe you've been a manager somewhere and you're no longer a manager, you've worked for this global organization and you no longer have it. Who are you? What can somebody describe of you? That is your personal brand. And our speaker, I think, is back, Mr. Banio. I was just trying to share and reflect on what you've just shared. I want to give you the opportunity back again so that you can be able to share with us. Yes,
Great. Thank you. Thank you. Sorry, I had a network interruption. So I tried to change from one network internet to another, but thank God I'm back. So I had shared my first step, which was intentionality. You have to reach a level where you realize that you cannot be a master of everything. Those that try to do everything, you become an average in everything and a master of none. So that was very important, to set a goal and also tell myself that this would be my final formal employment, that eventually beyond here, I want to rise to spaces where there are other things I do. And of course, some of those aspects are in the area of training and coaching and consulting. Wanted to be able to be invited by different institutions to be able to provide value. And I knew that that needed me to build something right from the start. And so I had said there are 3 steps, but there is a 4th component that applies at every stage. So that 4th component is telling your story, which is still part of intentionality. So once you've defined what it is that you want to be known for, what gaps you want to fill in society, what solution you want to provide, and then you have narrowed down, you have to be able to start telling people, tell your story, the things that matter to you, what you want to do. You can be such a great accountant, but if you don't start telling people, by the way, I could consult for you part-time. I am already supporting other people. I help them file their returns. I support them with some of their, finance things here and there. Without you rising to start telling people that, often it will be very difficult for people outside your organization to start giving you opportunities. And yet this might be something you're really thriving at. Even within your organization, you have to be able to open up to other people to say, you know what, I am good at this. This is an area where I'm passionate about, and I thrive in this. This matters a lot. I'm building this skill. I've learned this. This is what I'm doing out there. Bit by bit, people start associating you with the things that you've talked about and all that. So for me, in the beginning, that was an important journey. Every other time I was somewhere doing a training, I wrote a story about it. Because I'd become intentional, I knew at a certain time I am going to have to rise into the space of not just being an employee, but a consultant, especially in the training space. So I handle conversations around improving productivity. I handle conversations around, yes, how teams can work together. but also how people can build a life beyond formal employment, especially topics we think we should have learned when we were younger, when we were at school, and we didn't learn things around mindset, things around money, things around entrepreneurship. And those are conversations. So I just began writing stories about that once I defined that this is what I want the world to know me for. And I create content every single day without excuses. So if you check me out on Facebook, every day you'll find there's a write-up. I think today I've written like 4 times. And that is very, very important. And why is that important? To tell your story repeatedly so that you stick in the minds of people. Today, all of you brushed your teeth, and that I want to assume that. And you used a particular toothpaste. And I just want to ask you, when you had to buy this toothpaste, did you even have to move around did you even have to pick a pen and paper to list all the different brands of toothpaste to say which one do I take, which one do I buy? No, you just subconsciously picked your money and you went and you picked that particular brand. How did that brand stick in your head? Because it has appeared in your face again and again. You've been exposed to it again and again. And that repetition is powerful. Without it, there's so much competition for the minds, the attention, the time of other people right now. If you don't tell your story, they'll forget you quickly. And why is that also prominent? I just want you to think about this. How many of your friends who are not active on social media have you reached out to in the last 1 month, 2 months? There are even people who just come and realize 6 months have gone, you've not even talked to them. 1 year. It's when you're scrolling through your phone that you realize, hey, so this guy is there and I've never talked to him. If you are not telling your story repeatedly, that is how the world also forgets you. And for you, it will be worse. It will not be that they forget to check on you, but they then forget to give you opportunities that you need for a life beyond formal employment. So the second step is, the first one was be intentional. And in intentionality, still tell your story. The second step is become exceptional. So what is the point of exceptionality? The point of exceptionality is that you refuse to be associated with mediocrity. When I was at school, when I was at the university, our pass mark was 50%. And there were guys that would score 51%, and that evening they're in BJs, drinking and dancing and celebrating that they have survived. If the world is going to give you opportunities beyond your job, you must not be the guy that does things in a very average way. You must not be the lady who is known for just doing the bare minimum. You are looking forward to disappearing. You can't wait for it to reach 5 so that you take off. Not even that you have side hustles, other things to do out there, but you just have a mentality of giving your bare minimum. And one thing is this: when an opportunity comes for a promotion, when an opportunity comes for a referral out there, if somebody reached out and said, I need somebody who can help me file returns, I need somebody who can train, I need somebody who can do this and this, and it aligns with the skills you have, there are friends who know you are not a serious person, that they cannot taint their names by recommending you. But if you are the person who is exceedingly exceptional, you become like a star in darkness. Stars shine when it is dark, because while everything else disappears, you are the individual that can be seen. And the world is in great search for excellence. And I just want to say this. If you had a car that was spoiled, and you needed it to be repaired, would you say, I'm looking for a mechanic that completed from Makerere University or from Chambogo? No, you ask people, who is the best mechanic in town? The world gives opportunities to people who have defined themselves as being the best. They are not mediocres. And so you have to start a journey of becoming the best. What was that journey for me? It meant that I needed to start reading more. So I read every single day. I listen to podcasts. I'm on YouTube. I started spending a lot of money on data. I would rather walk on foot back then than not have data, because I needed data for learning and all that. And I started creating a budget for meeting other people who were doing things similar to what I wanted to do, and they were superior. They were ahead of me. Where I needed opportunities, I needed spaces where I could tell my story and all that. And that was very fundamental for me. So in summary, and number 2 is, be obsessed about being the very best you can be. It may not necessarily be being better than everybody else, but if you just decide that every day, every week, every month, you want to be better than you were yesterday, soon you will become better than everybody else around you, probably. Because there's the 100-hour rule that says that if you commit to 18 minutes every single day to do something which will add to 100 hours at the end of the year, you will be better than over 90% of people in that space all around. And why is that key? Because the average human being is not learning. Trust me, I've had the privilege to facilitate training programs. I've spoken at different platforms, maybe Bank of Uganda, maybe in different institutions in South Sudan, UNHCR, different universities. And sometimes one of those very common questions that I ask is this: how many of you are reading a book this month? And sometimes you'll find 1% of hands are up. And sometimes there's even no hand. Then you have to ask the last 3 months. That's when you see 1 or 2 hands. And sometimes the organizations you go to where no one has read a book, something that helps them improve for the last, I don't know how many months, sometimes even a whole year. Most of us have only understood learning through the lenses of formal education. And once we are done, we are done. So I want to ask you, are you perfecting your skill to a level where the world can give you opportunities? Your skill to a level that allows you to provide the best product or the best service that the world is going to say, wow. Can you become so good at what you do that when people look at you, they are lost in awe? They're like, greatness lives here. They say, I have met people, but there's something about this guy called John. There's something about this lady called Sarah. There's something about Nathan. There's something about this guy is the best I've met in that space. And keep telling your story. We say telling your story is constant. And that was important for me. And that's why I was saying I have had over 70 recommendations since 2022, to do work in one place or another. Why? Because I refuse, and I always underline this, I refuse to be associated with mediocrity. May it never be known that somebody gave me a chance to work and I came and I delivered and it was the bare minimum. I refuse that, because you become an embarrassment to a God who made you in his image. Remember, immediately after creation, what did God say? What does the Bible say? The Lord looked at what he had made and it was beautiful. And then, of course, he said, let's make man in our own image. God created us with a certain sense of excellence within us. And all of us in our own unique way, we are brands. Even your own fingerprint is the only one of its kind. Your job is to communicate that uniqueness and to bring out that excellence. So each time you don't give your best, you embarrass the person who made you in his own image. I refuse to be an embarrassment. The last step is this: consistency. Be consistent. So number 1 was become intentional. Refuse to be associated with. Just decide that you want to build this and go in that direction. Second, become obsessed about mastery, being exceptional. Number 3 is be consistent. And so why consistency? Because most of us, maybe I would give this example. Imagine if you were in a forest. I think Dr. Ken Jacob used this analogy in a very interesting way. Imagine you have your axe and you cut a tree, 1, 2, 3, and somehow it doesn't go down. What do most people do? You go and start cutting another tree. Then you go and cut another tree. You cut another tree. At the end of the day, you have attempted 10 trees and none of them has fallen. But then there's this one guy who just cuts one. That same one, he sharpens the axe, he returns. At the end of the day, one thing is sure: this guy's tree will fall. But you who is trying to cut every tree in the forest, you probably will not be able to succeed. And as powerful is this, because majority of people never stay on the path of things they begin. So if you're the one who is going to be there, by the time the world is coming to look for people who are offering such value, you are the one that they find. Most of us don't commit to anything. Over the last 5-10 years, we've started 5-7 different things. We built nothing. We are specialists in starting. You begin this because somehow at the back of your head, you want shortcuts. You're just hoping there's a quicker way to get the things. And one thing I've learned is this: there are really no shortcuts. you have to take the long route. Just make sure you are on the right route, because I usually say you can work so hard on the wrong idea. You can, as long as you're driving in away from your true destination, it doesn't matter how fast you're driving, you will get lost and all that. So consistency is important. There are people today, they are in mobile money. Tomorrow, now when you want to do business with them, they tell you they're selling shoes. And when you reach shoes, they tell you they are now selling charcoal. When you reach charcoal, you hear now they're again saying saucepans and all that. You just don't know what to trust them with. Consistency is that space that allows people to know you long enough so that those in the beginning who are like, but is this guy serious? Soon they start to say, I think she's serious. I think he's serious. He has been here. They start to trust you. People don't just pay for work you do. People pay for the experience they believe you possess. And that opinion, they form it over time if they have seen you do something again and again, if they have associated you with something again and again. And lastly, I want to wrap up with this. I usually like to use this example that we've seen people who I don't know, there are a number of probably I am vertically challenged, so I'm not among the men who are really tall. And growing up, if you ask a lady, what kind of man do you want? Tall, dark, handsome. I've not met a lady who says, me, I want a short guy, you know? And but don't short guys have women? Don't short guys have children? Don't they have families? The question is, what changed? What happened? When you check deeper, you realize that, the first time when this girl was approached by this guy, she probably came and told her friends, can you imagine? Of all people, Nobert, the short guy, is the one who came. Eh? I don't know what I did. And then the friends probably even laughed and all that. And they're like, of all people, how could it actually be a short guy? But then, while there's this tall guy that she wanted, this tall guy is not intentional, he's not exceptional, he's not consistent. And he just appears, disappears. It is after 3 days that he says, you see, I had power issues. He hasn't called. But the short guy shows up, flowers. The short guy shows up. There's a mobile money message. The short guy shows up. There's a good morning, beautiful. How was your night? And the short guy shows up. There's a dinner date. The short guy shows up, and there's attention. And very one day, the friends of this lady ask her, how is it going with the short guy? Then she says, but the guy is short, but just know every other time they use the word but, everything they said before doesn't matter. The issue of being short no longer matters. And then everything follows after. They're like, oh, that guy, Banange, the way that guy cares, do you know what he got me last time? That guy calls every time. He will check on me. Oh, there's something about that guy. Even our half friends now all of a sudden feel that the Lord should bless them with a short guy. So I usually say we the short men were actually the prayer requests, were the answers to the prayers people made, because the world doesn't give us a space like that in the beginning unless something stands out about us and consistently. So what is the message here? You might not be people's first choice, but if you stay there long enough, soon you become a topic of conversation. You must build a culture of consistency. How many of us know the song, Kasongo Monahe, Mobali Nankai? Aha. How many of us were familiar with that song 2 years ago? We probably were not. But somewhere last year, somebody just began this. This song started playing again and again. And there was even a guy who was at that time was saying, do you know I have a presentation? And just before that presentation, Kasongo.
Wow, quite interesting. Robert, are you there?
Yes, I'm back. I think I was
Okay,
having
it, it,
a call interrupting. So
it's
let me
okay.
wrap up here. Yes. Great. So what is fundamental then is this, that sometimes in the beginning, our lives are like that song. Everybody feels like, that song is fake. That song is fake. But the radio station plays it again. Again, then one day you just realize you're singing along. You can never tell when you began learning that song. But so while you thought you were not learning, you were actually learning.
And in the same way, while you think the world is not noticing you, they are noticing how intentional you are. They are listening to the stories that you're telling. They are seeing how exceptional you are. And soon they start to tell their friends about you. And that becomes a game changer for you. So this has been my journey. In summary, I decide that I want to be intentional about what the world should know me for. And then I tell my story repeatedly. And I decide that I will build my competence to the greatest level so that if I am if somebody, an organizer, a boss hears that they did not bring me on board to do work after what I did last time, somebody's job should be at risk. And sometimes people say, you see, there's a lot of kickbacks in the country, but people only give what? I can confidently say, since 2022, only 3 people have asked me for a bribe. 3 people have asked me for a bribe. And I believe that there is a space for each of us. If you refuse to be associated with mediocrity, if you commit to continuous learning, if you tell your story, if you build relationships with people, if you say that I want to be known as a good human being, I want to be known as somebody who carries potential, somebody who gives their best, and somebody who is passionate about the things they do, there is a space for you. Why? Because you operate at the peak of the pyramid, a space where the average Ugandan doesn't exist, the average African doesn't exist. And up there, the world is looking for excellence. If you're the one who offers it, the world will give you opportunities, it will pay you, and then it will apologize for wasting your time, and it will thank you for having shown up. Yes, back to you, Samuel.
Wow. Thank you so much, Nobert. Quite insightful. And I'm glad that you've shared about what I may call critical or important aspects of being intentional, working on your mastery, and the aspect of consistency. And to our viewers, those that are following this session live here, we want to appreciate you. In case you have a question for Mr. Nobert, include it in the chat box. You can raise up your hand and Mr. Nobert will be able to answer it. Those that are following us from YouTube, we also appreciate you. Either you're watching this as a live session or you're watching a replay of it. We appreciate you. No, but I want to get down to, I know you've shared about those steps, and I want you to speak to somebody who is currently employed. And I know some people are afraid of sharing content because you're sharing quite a number of things online yourself every day, as you've indicated. How can somebody who is employed be able to start growing their brand right now, such that in case anything happens, or even as they're still in employment, how can they be able to leverage on brand building to still remain there, despite the challenges of the workplace, like fear of your bosses seeing you, time, and other aspects that may really affect you if you're still employed?
Okay, thank you, Samuel, for that question. So before, for me, just
Okay, Mr. Nobert, I think he's muted, but thanks for the comments coming through.
okay.
Yes,
Yes,
Nobert.
I'm back. Yes, I'm back. So one is the beginning thing, like I said, decide what you want to be known for. And sometimes there are already things we are doing that if we just took them seriously, if we just built more capacity, out there the world would need it. So imagine you're an accountant. It is not only your organization, your company that needs those services. There are people that need audits. There are people that need their organizations, CBOs, there are small companies that cannot afford to hire a full-time accountant. And you could be able to do that. So the beginning thing is zero down on what you want to do. Do you want to be in the service space? Do you want to be in the product space? What is it that you want to do? You can't do everything. So in the beginning, you begin with one thing before you can add another. And then after that, Just a minute. I'm getting small interruptions there at my background.
No worries, no
Just a
worries, no
minute.
worries. But
It's
great conversation here. Thanks so much for the comments coming through. Whoever is following through. I think one of the critical things that I want to say as well is because of my personal brand, we are here today. And some of you have followed me for quite a while. You've followed some of my content. Banio, as I mentioned there, as I was starting out in 2019, he realized that I was one of those that I was speaking about career coaching in that era and age. You can see I've walked this journey from 2015 to now. This is about 10 years. It's a decade now of building and showing up every day. I know some of you follow some of our content. You follow my content, you follow Nobert's content. Showing up every day is not something that you do because it feels okay or it feels nice for you. Sometimes when you realize that this is what will help you, this is what will take you from zero to somewhere, then you show up. I'll tell you, I wouldn't have invited Banio if I've not watched his journey. I've watched him consistently. Now, one of the things or mistakes that some of us do is we start and stop. Why? Because we feel discouraged. Now, I want to tell you that I started following Banio about now, I think coming to 2 years, but this is the time when I thought about would invite him. Now, if he had stopped somewhere, he would not be a featuring for this session, or he will not be attracting other opportunities as he's attracting. So when he mentioned consistency, that resonated so much with me. I'll tell you that I show up every day on LinkedIn, on different social media platforms. Either I want it or not. I have to create time. Sometimes it's painful because I have to do it in the night because I have to create content. Sometimes you put out content and you have one like or you have two people liking, and you have to keep the resilience because there's somebody you're speaking to every day. When I started public speaking, I told myself, even if I have one person listening to me, I'll speak as if I'm speaking to 100 people. And before you know it, you're speaking to 50 people, you're speaking to 100 people, you're speaking to several kind of people. And that is what happens when you're building a name. That time you can't see how far you're moving. But before you know it, people are now mentioning your name. I recently met somebody whom I regard as one of the top executives in the country. We were entering the bank together, and immediately, we've never met in person, but immediately he saw my face. It was like, Coach Samuel Ibanda. And I was like, wow. So a top executive that I've been looking up to, that I would have to struggle to get access to, has mentioned my name. He did not just end on mentioning my name, but he asked for my contact and told me, I'm going to ask my assistant to schedule a meeting. I want us to discuss and see what work we can do together. Can you imagine that? A person you really look up to is now not, you're not reaching out to them, but they're reaching out to you because you have built. And I think there's a saying in Africa which says that if you learn how to wash your hands, you will eat with elders. That's what happens with personal brands. So back to you, Nobert.
Yes, thank you, Samuel, for sharing. Really great. And honestly, I've followed your journey, and I was really inspired by the consistency, that with which you're sharing. I should say, as an I think I don't know how much content I've shared. So if somebody right now checks me on Facebook, you'll find maybe I have a following of 1.5, 1,500. But that is because last year I lost my Facebook account. That was there. But I have, for the last 3 years, written on Facebook almost every day, that I have more posts uploaded than the total number of days in a year, because there are moments when I write 3 times a day, sometimes 4 times a day. And it's just by showing up consistently that the broader audience gets to know you. Why is that fundamental? Because by the time somebody reaches out to you, now they know. You see, like when we finally launched the boys mentorship, our first intake had close to about 50 boys. Parents that were willing to trust us to bring their sons to be able to learn the things that we are teaching the adults anyway, that these boys now get to learn earlier to prepare for a life that really matters out here. So And all that comes because consistently you've been associated with something. So people feel like they can trust you. If I can make a request from you, one, refuse to be the one everybody is using here and there because you have no clear agenda of your own. Become intentional about building your life. Number two, like we said, refuse to be associated with mediocrity. So be exceptional. Number three is be consistent. So back to what Samuel had asked, what are some of those steps somebody can really take? So before you go to social media, the question would be, how many friends do you have? How many of them are you able to call on phone? Do you load minutes in a month? And what do you do with your minutes? You know, some of us even take pride in the fact that we're isolated. We say, for me, I'm an introvert. You know, you like hiding. Everything about you is private. So some of you, even your spouses, if we asked your spouses what your job title is, your spouse doesn't even know your job title. Your parents sent you to school, they don't even know which course you studied. Why? Because you have decided to live a life of total secrecy. While you think it is something you take pride in, that you're a private person, you don't know that you're actually destroying opportunities for yourself and all that. So before you go to Facebook, before you go to LinkedIn, you have WhatsApp, which is private, because some of us sometimes struggle with this idea of you know, some of our employers, they fear, but what if they know I'm trying to build something on the side, this and that? Before you even fear your employer, how many people have you spoken to on phone? How many people's inboxes have you gone into? And how many one-on-one meetings are you arranging? Do you have a budget for coffee dates, for networking events, and all that? Or for you, the only thing money you spend is on clothes and new shoes. You look very good to impress people you don't even like, people who don't even buy their care. Do you have a budget for personal learning? So I would say those could be some of the steps. And then you can, in the beginning, I had to start doing one of those funny things, which was, you know, I had to block some people. If I thought somebody was so controversial and that this was too early for them to see things I was doing, I blocked them. I would make status updates. So what some people do is they block everyone where they work. They first try to build what they're doing, and that would be before this comes out in the public domain, before they start sharing on TikTok and all that. You do background work. It is like those days when our parents wanted to marry, they first had to go and ask questions even before they approach that girl. We must have this ability to first going around here and there. And then the other bit is within your place of work, if you especially want to build a brand related to something you're already doing, maybe you're very good with project management and you want to build a brand as a project management consultant out there, start to tell your colleagues that this is something you're passionate about. When there are projects, the opportunities that come up, be the one to volunteer so that you learn, so that people start to see you. Because when somebody asks your friend, someone you work with, people always know those that are good, those that are passionate, those that stand out. Your name quickly comes up and they begin to recommend you. And actually, in September, we will be launching a sales training program that allows people to go through 2 months of training on sales and customer experience, because I'm struggling to see institutions and universities in Uganda that are actually teaching something like that. And why is that? Because a number of employers I consult for here and there have lately reached out. You know, do you know somebody who is very good with sales, somebody who has gone through your hands and all that, and I can trust that he's very good, has a great attitude and all that, could do some work for us. There's this opportunity, and sometimes there's that struggle. And why is this key? That you have to build capacity and then you have to be known, because sometimes people are reaching out, they're asking questions, they're asking your friends, but your name cannot come up in the minds of people. Why? Because you're very, very quiet. And lastly is, if you have an opportunity, if you have a good employer, by the way, employers that support you. I think I had, my boss was so supportive and we're able to have conversations. And at some moment, they understood that I was trying to build something for the future. And the consensus was, as long as you do your assignments on time and deliver what you're supposed to deliver here, it is okay. Do the other things. Just make sure what you're supposed to do here, you deliver. And lastly, before I pause and also give a chance for interactions here and there, is this. If you're trying to build a life beyond formal employment, this is always what I say. Your 9 to 5 is your opportunity to pay your bills. But your 5 to 9 p.m. and your weekends and public holidays are the opportunity for you to build a life beyond formal employment. If you are not using those times very well, you are probably in trouble. 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. and 5 a.m. to 9 a.m. and then weekends. And if something matters to you, you will find a way. I belong to the tribe of the Lugbara, and the Lugbara have a saying that Okuma Anguzoko. When you translate it, means this: a woman's place is never very far for a man. And usually, don't you realize that this place was very far on your way back, even when you start running away from your own footsteps and your shadows, and then you realize you had just walked 5 kilometers, making promises that even you cannot fulfill to yourself. And that's when you realize, hey, this was actually how far the place was. But when you were going, it was near. Why? Because that mattered to you. So when people who say, you see, it is so busy for me, I don't even have time, by the end of the day, I'm tired, I say that you have not wanted this space of freedom, the space of self-employment. You don't want it as much as you want your job. Just imagine if you gave 10% of the energy you give to your job, if you gave that to building something on the side, that we can be so committed to building everything for your employer, and we cannot do anything for our future. The day when they fire you like this, that's just the end. It is risky for you to receive salary only from one source, that you abandon your entire family, the children, your spouse, and the entire society. The people that need you, you abandon their future to one particular employer to decide if they should pay you at the end of the month. And when Trump says, the things are over and all that, then you end up depressed. And when you look backwards, you realize you had an opportunity to do something. But I also don't really blame people. And this is not from a place of blame. It's because when we are growing up, what was glorified was formal employment. And humans can be illogical to the extent that we would rather choose a status over freedom. So if what is celebrated is the fact that Nobert works somewhere, Nobert is willing to forego the opportunity of freedom for that glory. And that's why we need to have conversations about self-employment. We need to have conversations about entrepreneurship. We need to start glorifying it among our kids so that they will not consider it as something that makes them lose status, but rather something that allows them gain status. So I want you to ask yourself, are you really too busy to do something on the side? Or is it that it has just not, the urgency has not occurred to you? You think you'll probably have this opportunity you have right now forever. And that's why we do the masterclass. I think Samuel had mentioned in the beginning, because people need to develop the right mindset and the right skill set for them to make that transition, because we're never taught these things in school. We're not programmed like that in most of our families and all that. What is natural to us is, at the end of the day, go and sit there, watch your TV, watch Z World, watch Telemundo as a lady, get all these ideas of romance, and then you expect a guy to love you in the same way the guy who didn't watch it. It's like somebody who didn't read a particular course unit, and then they have to do an exam for that. Definitely they will fail. And you cannot commit to reading a book. You cannot commit to networking and all that. So I would like to encourage this. Become so obsessed about your brand that at the end of every day you ask yourself, what things have I done that my future self will be proud of in relation to the brand I'm building? Because your brand has a close relationship and direct relationship with how much you can make in the future. Back to you, Samuel.
Right, all right. Thank you so much, Mr. Banio. So there's a question that was shared by Mr. Peter Shelu, and it is one of those who share about the sessions, and I'm glad he's part of this. So he asked and said, one of the questions I would love to have answered by Mr. Banio is, what is the difference between personal branding and executive presence? I know that people in the corporate space, these terms may sound familiar. And I remember Coach Winnie, who is from Kenya, who is also part of this call. mentioned something around executive presence, but would you just share from your thoughts what's the difference between these two aspects?
Okay. So, as regards a personal brand, so what I would say about, I think I had mentioned in the beginning, if there were conversations about you elsewhere, what else can people share in regard beyond your name? And that really, really creates opportunities for you. And we said there are two key aspects when it comes to that. In my world, in my view, which is and a brand goes beyond the logo. A brand goes beyond the colors. It goes beyond the wordings that we use here and there. A brand is more about when your name comes up, what does it remind people of? Is it a great experience? Does it exude confidence, competence? And do people say, I'm lucky to associate with this? And one of those things, I think this was something Myron Golden was saying, is this, that one of the ways to know that you have really developed a powerful brand is when people are willing to say yes to an offer without even knowing what the offer is. You know, in other words, you have become a force, and probably that also eventually goes towards executive presence, that you have reached a level of such unmistakable quality that makes people kind of stop. They listen. They're like, oh, this is finally you. Here, have you had platforms, opportunities where somebody shows up and people want to take pictures with them because their presence alone reflects a very great level of value? And when other people associate with that person, they kind of lend a certain level of credibility that they possess to the other person because they know what this person stands for, what they're associated with. And when they say, who sent you? They say, if Samuel is the one who sent you, then I know you really are. So it's not really about just, looking great, speaking really well. It goes beyond that you command respect because you've stood for things for such a long time that your name has become a standard upon which other people build everything. Maybe that might be my own small way of looking at the two, but I think they are closely linked. It might be difficult to differentiate them. If somebody has a better way of differentiating them, I really welcome that. But at the core of it, commit to building a brand. You can build a brand at an individual level. You can also build a brand at the level of the business, and but in the beginning, when you're starting out with your formal job, you want to build such a personal brand. Why? Because many people want to see the face behind the idea, and they want to know, can I trust you? Because one of the things that I think this should be Zig Ziglar who says, should be Zig Ziglar, if I'm not mistaken, that people do business with those that they like, those that they know, those that they trust. And so people need to like you. They need to know you. That's why awareness is important. They need to be able to like you. And why will they like you if you are not the best at what you do and if you don't treat people well? And then beyond that, they need to be able to trust you that in your hands, they are safe. That when they do business with you, they are not just doing you a favor. In fact, they are honored to have had the opportunity to do business with you because they know that you, a busy person, you carry value other people would probably want, but you gave them an opportunity. Yes, back to you.
Great. I'll just want to add that when you mention executive presence, to some people, most they look at it from the leadership perspective in the leadership setting, but it's just mostly around, of course, just like the way personal branding is, it's about your credibility, the confidence that you bring to the room, and how you're able to. You've had the word which says your command of the room, your ability to be able to influence others that are in the room, I think comes out very key. And you brought out that perspective. So there's a question here from Mr. Isaac. Mr. Isaac is one of our routine attendees here, and we're glad to have you always. He says, how do you narrow down to one aspect that best brands you, given that you're multi-skilled? I think this is a very important question, especially Nobert. There are people like you who you have an agriculture background, and now you're positioning yourself as a life coach. And over time, you've now started to share content also around the mentorship of boys. How can somebody who is multi-skilled be able to navigate through this journey?
Okay. I remember, I think we studied something in agricultural economics. It was opportunity cost. So, and you see, in the beginning, being multi-talented looked like a blessing for me. It was something to be proud about, but eventually turned out to be one of my greatest curses in a way. Why? Because I could do so many things. You know, I'm good with proposals. I'm good with many other things. I'm really good with public speaking. I'm good with leadership. I've led at different levels. I even had moments where I served as guild speaker at the university, and many people were expecting that beyond that, I would probably contest for member of parliament and many other things. But one of those things that I would say is this: you probably want to dig deeper into the important questions that somebody has to answer for themselves. One is this: what is it that you list down 4 or 5 things that you know to do, and then narrow down and ask yourself, which one is the one that I know how to do best? You know, and your opportunity to make money most of the time is going to be tied to things you're already doing in one or the other. So the component of skill is one. The other is a component of passion. What is it that you could do and time can just flow without even thinking about it? You could even do it freely and you'd enjoy it. And sometimes that's one of the areas of reflection. And then the question becomes, are you already very good at it? If you're not, is there a way to build capacity so that you become the best at it? Because there has to be a reason beyond money for why you want to do the things you do. And if money is the only immediate reason, many ideas take longer before they can fully take off. And you'll find yourself running away from one thing to another to another. And then the third important question is this the things I'm interested in, is there a corresponding problem society has that people are already willing to have solved, that if I stepped forward, they would actually pay me for? Because sometimes I can be so obsessed. For example, I could be obsessed about promoting golf here. But the question is, how many people here would want to associate with golf? I might be passionate about golf. I might be very good with golf, but does it give me opportunities to really make the kind of money I want? Or is there another problem I could solve? So those are important questions for me. And one of those things, somewhere last year, when we said we are doing the boys mentorship program, the moment we announced it, I could see the energy from society. The number of people, the boys mentorship program has given me a level of exposure that is far beyond what I have had in the last 2 years, 3 years combined. Why? Because this is a particular area society has been complaining about, and there are very few people who have been in this space trying to solve the problem. So the fact that I was operating in an area of my greatest competence and passion, which is around helping people to become the best versions of themselves through training and coaching and mentoring. That's basically what I do. And we simply picked what we do for adults because we have a program that prepares people for life beyond jobs. They learn things that they didn't learn at school, you know? They learn the mindset, the science around that, behavior change. They learn about trauma healing, financial literacy, business ideation, sales, marketing, those things that you rarely learn at school. And we simply took that, said, let's now do this for boys. And then add other topics like discipline, like manhood, like addictions in their context. And so for me as an individual, that transition was easier because we are basically doing similar things I've done over the last few years, 4 years and plus actively. So you want to narrow down as much as possible and accept that you will not do everything. Just choose the ones you can sacrifice and the ones that you can build on now. And then you can eventually add something along the way when you need to. The boys mentorship thing wasn't a beginning thing where we began. It came in as an addition. So sometimes you're going to meet one person and you're like, but so-and-so is doing many things. What you don't know is that what looks like diversification is a product of adding multiple things after intervals of 1 to 3 years. And now you're seeing a sum total of different things that have been built over time. And you think that it began from there. The people who try to do everything in the beginning, often they don't go anywhere far. So that would basically be my response. Yes, back to you, Sam.
Great. When you responded, I could remember, I think it was a post by Rita Martha Budia, who is also part of this call, one of those people that share about personal branding online. And I think she was trying to mention around niching. And I've been able to see that you can actually be multi-skilled and pour yourself out there. But sometimes the market also tries to define. One of the things that I think you mentioned when you're starting, when you're trying to share with us the 3 steps of being intentional, your mastery, and then consistency. As somebody jumps out, they need to be able to ask themselves, whom am I speaking to? Whom do I want to influence? And what kind of message do I want to put out there? And then work backwards to see how are they showing up at the end of the day. And I like the fact that you've mentioned that you can actually be multi-skilled and you can be able to see how to show up. But some of these things might come over time, because when you ask yourself, Oprah Winfrey is known for something. If you know Bob Wine is known as a musician, but that has not stopped him from venturing into some of the other things that he does as a business person, as a politician. So it gets easier as you proceed through the journey. And one of the things that I would say that even for my personal journey is that one of the reasons why some people are not starting is because they want to figure out everything before they start. Say, what can I start with? Now, I'll tell you one thing. Those that have followed me for quite a while, you've seen me share about personal finance. You've seen me share about career growth. You've seen me share about business. But every day I'm showing up, and every day I'm redefining myself to see, how do I want the world to know me? At what kind of point? Sometimes we transform by how our lives have transformed. When I was starting out sharing about career growth, my key message was around people who are leaving university and how they can get into the employment world. Through the journey, I started now moving to now target people who are at middle management, people who are now transitioned from just being juniors and now at another level. And now I'm transitioning to getting into leadership aspects. So your brand evolves with you, and you don't need to wait when things are perfect. Even if it comes content, get in there, share with us content as you keep refining yourself, but also as you see what is working out for your audience. Sometimes there's a post you make and you see that this post attracts a lot of people around it. One of the things that I've also seen, and I've seen Mr. Banio also do, is he's mentioned about the story, the power of your story. If your content that you're sharing resonates about even your journey yourself, you're able to show us yourself in the work that you do, that even sells you more. So at the end of the day, it's that authenticity that you show up every day with that is able to attract the kind of audience that you're actually attracting. So I just wanted to add a few thoughts around there. But thanks so much for the sharing, and thank you so much, Martha, for the difference that you've shared between executive presence and personal branding. Somebody asks now a question, I think, around niching. I know you've mentioned that, but you may again want to bounce on it. Mr. Alex Saka mentions, how do you create a niche in your personal branding? Let me see if there's anything else that you can be able to answer at a go. So Mr. Othieno Charles says, "Hello team, this is Charles. How can someone brand himself amidst challenges that might come due to different temperament in people?" So would you want to handle those two questions, Mr. Nobert? As
Okay.
yeah.
One was about the niche, the other is temperament. So I want to start from the temperament bit. First of all, I mentioned that we do a program that allows people learn things I wish I learned when I was at school or maybe at home, and I didn't. And then I just realized eventually these things matter out here. Things around mindset, things around, entrepreneurship and all that. But one of the things I eventually learned was this. Many of us carry unresolved trauma. We carry unresolved trauma. And in one or the other, one of the end results of trauma is this. We form an opinion about ourselves that we are not good enough because maybe you are never complimented enough when you're growing up, or you grew up in an environment of violence. There are needs that you had that were never met. Your father was never present. You are the one that was often insulted, and in many ways. So sometimes you find that we have a very temperamental response to things that happen around us. We think everybody's trying to attack us, everybody's trying to undermine us, and all that. And that's why sometimes we get upset quickly. Why? Because the world has told you a story long enough about yourself in words and in actions that remind you that you're not good enough. Much as you don't like it, but you eventually believed it. And it's more like when you are in class, you've not done an assignment, and you're trying to hide behind there, and a teacher points at you and says, "Hey, Nobert, so you're there," and then you're like, "Again, they have got me," and you don't like the fact that they got you. Sometimes that's how anger manifests, because there are things people do that remind us that we're not good enough. And because it's an idea that we have believed and we don't like it, we become temperamental. So this would be my recommendation for every person who wants to pursue self-employment, who wants to work with customers, who wants to grow in leadership. You must heal as a person. It's the reason why we do a session on trauma healing. And I think it has become the most popular of all the sessions we do in a masterclass. People come in and they don't know how much they need it until they go through it. And then you rise to a level where you are less upset about things that happen. So what does that mean? If you really want to thrive, everything you need is with people. You can't be your own spouse. You can't be your own child. If you want a child, somebody has to be involved. You can't be your own customer. You can't be the one to give you the promotion. Everything you want, people will have a say about it in one or the other. And you need to build the skill of working with people that you can even understand them when they are bad-mannered, that you refuse to get upset when things are thrown at you because you know you're good enough. That would be my first response there, that we must build our own self-esteem, that we are to a level where we know we are good enough and we do not require validation. And when the world is trying to mistreat us in one or the other, we don't take it personal. Instead, we look at them and realize so and so has a problem, because naturally, nobody really in their normal senses wants to make the lives of other people better. I mean, difficult. When they are doing that, there is something inherently wrong with them, often from their upbringing. And once we look at it from that, we'll have more empathy. The second question was about the issue of niche. So, like what I said, you have to arrive at a realization that you cannot start with everything. You're going to have to narrow down. So, one of the things that happened for me was when we launched the boys' mentorship, it became so popular that it is almost threatening every other form of brand that I'd built as the coach that facilitates team building events and all that. And why? Because all of a sudden I noticed it looks like this is what the world has been looking for. So everywhere there are a lot of talks. You're going to check people sharing this on their statuses and the enrollments that come, and you don't even know where this is and all that. And people calling me, we saw an article written by you on a platform on Mama Tendo, another one for parents in SETA, another one for Lugazi, I don't know, whatever, which school. And sometimes we don't even know who shared these things. And so what am I trying to say? that sometimes you're going to start your journey. You think you know what you're doing. You think this is the best idea. But if you are there long enough, consistent enough, and you remain open to learning, you're going to start evolving. And at one moment, it's just like what Mark Zuckerberg said, that ideas do not come fully formed. And I usually say we live life forward, but understand it backwards much later. And at one moment, if you stay there long enough, learning and crafting, evolving here and there, one day it becomes clear for you, aha, this is the thing that works. But the point is this, you will not reach there if you don't start. Like Samuel was saying, I usually say this, start early, start afraid, fail forward, fail small, so that you can be able to rise. If you want to start big, you can fall so terribly that you might not, your legs will be broken and you'll not be able to walk again. And it's like some of these Ugandan heartbreaks you get that turn you into a motivational speaker. So you have to become so comfortable starting small, maneuvering, do research. Sometimes that's the other way you narrow down. And lastly is this. Many times, sometimes you might want really extreme specificity. And we are usually afraid that if I narrow down, I will not have a big reach. But one risk is also this. In trying to serve everybody, you struggle to be able to get opportunities. The more you narrow down, the more specific you become, actually, the better. But I want to ask this. How many of you have personal coaches in your lives? How many of you have mentors? How many of you reach out to other people who are doing similar things like you want to, and you ask them, how did you start this? How do you do this? I'm trying to penetrate this space and all this. All of us, we are a product of mentorship. Your good manners and bad manners, somebody taught you. Somebody taught you how to speak to a woman. Whether they said directly or you observed, somebody taught you how to walk. Somebody taught you to talk. Someone taught you to smoke or to drink. Yeah. So what that means is that all of our lives we have been mentored, and you must reach a level where mentorship becomes a very intentional journey for you. You're spending money on books, and as you read more ideas, your own ideas will become clearer, and narrowing down and forming a niche becomes easy. And on YouTube, you can find so many other videos around this same topic. Even now, you can ask ChatGPT. These are areas I'm interested in. This. How can I narrow down so that I figure out the best niche, and do a bit of research, understand here, ask ChatGPT, which seem to be some of those best opportunities. Sometimes you are going to get insights that you did not even imagine. Talk to other people and all that. But I want to say this finally, that you don't have to be perfect at the start. It is in willing to fail that we succeed. Practice precedes perfection. It is the people that are willing to try that are able to triumph. And you must give yourself this privilege too. Back to you, Samuel.
Great. Thank you so much for those responses. I believe that people are picking one or two things there. You see, one of the things that I know that really helps push you forward is looking at people who have done things. I usually do a lot of observation. When I see somebody who is doing something, I observe them. I visit their social media platforms to see how are they showing up. And there's one or two things that you're able to learn in the process. And I think Nobert has mentioned something that's very important. Mentorship. Sometimes something that would take you long, maybe years to figure out, would actually be figured out in just a day because somebody guided you, because they have walked the journey, and because they have made mistakes. And for you, you don't have to make the same mistakes. So it's one of the things that Nobert does as a mentor. And of course, as the Transformation Professionals Club, our goal is to bring you such kind of mentors that can be able to support you on your journey and help you to see how you can move from wherever you are to whatever you want to become. So there is no any other question. I don't know if somebody wants to raise up their hand and ask a direct question. That is also Okay, you can unmute and be able to ask a question. And don't be afraid, because sometimes we build our brands by speaking up and being able to show up live as well. Because you see, we've attended this session, over 50 of us, but who remembers you as part of the session is because you've asked. So we can now remember Isaac and remember other people who introduced themselves. So you can also be able to ask a question. If told you can, if you're not able to, you can drop it in the chat box and they'll be able to answer. So Mr. Nobert has also shared his phone number in the chat box, so you can be able to text him and reach out to him, which is very good. As we conclude, we have a few minutes to the end of the session. Any questions? Please, you can unmute and ask. But as we come to the end of this, I don't know if there's anyone who's unmuting. Yes, Mr.
Thank
Sam
you.
Labu.
Yeah, thank you, Samuel, for organizing this, and thank you, Nobert, for sharing that experience. And you've said a lot, and I have picked great insights. I have been personally struggling to build my personal brand. Sometimes you post on LinkedIn, and you get 1 or 2 likes. But of late, I've appreciated that we don't need to give up. As long as you have passion in what you're doing, you keep posting, and eventually the people that follow and like what you're posting eventually increase. So one post should not discourage. In case one person liked or none has liked, it should not discourage us from posting, and also inviting people to like your post, and what you share also explains a lot why, whether someone will like or not. So I just wanted to comment that, and really appreciate Norbert for that personal experience he has shared with us. Thank you. Over to you, Samuel.
Great. Thank you, Sam Labu, for your comments. As I will also ask Nobert to comment on that. But before he comes through, I want to say I shared an example of a top executive whom I met earlier last week, and they mentioned my name, and I know they must have known me from LinkedIn. One thing I'll say is this person has never commented, and I've never seen them like my posts. That is something that is that you get to realize that the people that are watching and sometimes are going to even make business with you do not like your posts, and then they do not comment. So that is one of the things. The other I also want to comment and say is when you're building your personal brand, is like you're you're putting something outside there that if somebody wants to do a due diligence, if somebody wants to find out, they can actually find something out there about you. I'll give you an example. If Sam Labu, I know you are an education program person. If at all I was looking for a program person in education, and let's say you've started posting, let's say, content around programming in education, and I go to, let's say, to LinkedIn, and we have two people, one who just has a good profile there and one who has been posting about what he does in his day-to-day work. The person who is posting about what he does in his day work will take my attention, because even if they got these things either from AI or these are things they listened somebody speaking and they took note and they are posted about them, there's an impression that I'll get when I look at what you've posted. In my mind, I'll think you're more knowledgeable than the other person who has not posted anything. So posting gives you visibility, but at the end of the day, there's also something to do with the algorithm. The algorithm on these platforms favors people who are what we call producers, people that put out content there that is actually consumed. So you don't need to be discouraged, because the more you post, the more you get advantage from the platform, There's more visibility because when you don't post on your platform, the artificial machines and the back end of these platforms think you're either dead, you're not existent, or you're a scammer. When you start posting, they know that you're now a person who is alive, who is there. So if you're watching this and you don't post on your platforms, it's much likely that even when you start posting, the visibility is very low. As you continuously post, even these platforms now start to encourage you because they exist because they want people to be on the platforms. So I just felt that I need to encourage you on that aspect. Please post as much as you can post. Even if you have one person who is liking, some of these platforms give you what they call impressions. There are people who read your posts and do not like. That doesn't mean that people are not watching. People are watching you. And I want to tell you that there are decisions that are going to be made on you because you were consistent. When somebody wants to hire you, they'll run to Google and Google your name. You know what shows up? It's what you've been posting. That's the content. So when you read through your posts and they see that they make sense, they'll make the decision. Yeah. Over to you, Nobert, to make your comment on that. But I would just want to also add this question that has come through from Sylvia Chitimbo, one of those that are often here. Says, does one need to have an address or attachment to a group to make a brand? Do you want to comment on that?
Okay.
Comment on.
Yes. Thank you. You can build a brand as a company, as a business, as an institution, but you can also build a brand as an individual. Actually, all of us are working companies, you know. So I think you choose whichever path. So while I am associated with the Boys Mentorship Program, but I also have my own things that I've been known for. And in the beginning, I focused a lot more on building a personal brand. And a lot of consultancies I've done them as an individual, not necessarily as an institution. So that's also possible. And I wanted to call one of those assignments I want to give each of you is you ask ChatGPT, just type in and say, tell me about Banio, Luiji, Nobert. That is, for example, if I had to ask. So you ask ChatGPT this time, you can ask about me, ask about Samuel, ask about yourself, and see what comes out. There are some of you, if right now you ask ChatGPT, there's no information. But if you ask ChatGPT about Samuel Ebanda, it is going to give you a summary of who this guy is. If you ask about Nobert, it will probably give you. Where does it pick that information? It picks from things that we have been putting online. And LinkedIn is very powerful with that, especially. So you want to check that out. And the other bit is, Samuel actually already responded to that first question around that was my highest paying engagement per day in Uganda that I had, which paid me money that was probably equal or higher than what used to be my month's salary, came from somebody who had never made a comment on my post. You know, somebody who had never made a comment on my post, but they had been reading it. So you don't want to post for likes. You know, when you still have unresolved trauma, you still have self-esteem issues, you want to get likes, you want comments, and the more comments, then you say, yeah, I'm doing it. Some of you, even you go and remove a post if 1 hour down the road there's no like. I don't care whether there's a like or not. Whether if you come to online, you're going to find maybe my post about the boys mentorship has 2,900 likes. It's coming to 3,000. But there are other posts that you're going to find 1 like, 2 likes, 10 likes. I don't care. I am here to serve. And the other mentality I need you to have is this. You have not been sent to everybody. You've been sent to specific people. And your job is to be available so that these people can find you. And that's how I look at marketing. Marketing is not about going to convince people to buy a product or a service. Marketing is about showing up and saying, this is what I stand for. In case you're the person who has been looking for an individual like me, I am here. That whenever you'll have a need, I'll be here to serve. Marketing is a promise that we make. And that's why you have to repeatedly show up. And so go beyond your idea of having people like your posts and all that. Eventually, over time, you start to get attention. Because in the beginning, some people may not take you seriously, but over time they start to say, I think this one is, it's like when a drunkard all of a sudden converts and says now they are born again. Some people even bet and say, let's give that guy 1 week, he'll be back. But if after 1 month, 5 months, this guy has not returned, they start saying, I think this one is serious. Now they start calling him locally and all that. So you want to give yourself that privilege, stay there long enough, learn repeatedly. And the more you write, the more perfect you become at writing. You improve your art, you improve your craft. Learn to tell stories like Samuel was saying. So like if we have done a school outreach, maybe if we've done, I've spoken at Bank of Uganda, I will write about it. I'll make sure I take videos. If I have spoken at, I don't know, a MasterCard Foundation Scholars Program, like where I've done the events for the last 2 years, I am going to write about those stories. You don't write them to show off. You can write some educative thing and you're able to, but people observing and they start to say they can trust you. Why? Because very few people are willing to be your source of experimentation. I just want you to think about this. Imagine if you are showing up, I still use the example of surgery. And as you're there and they are rolling you into the theater, the doctor says, thank God, I'm going to do my first surgery at last. Would you be excited to continue with that surgery? If you found out that you are going to be a source of experimentation, that's why your stories are powerful, because people come to you, they know you as an expert. Why? Because you've been writing about these things, you've been doing these things, you've been telling stories. They know you've been here long enough, you know it, you're an expert, and you can do. Even if you sell clothes, you are giving insights about fashion. This is not only for training and coaching. You are into a restaurant, you're giving insights about recipes. You're into selling land, you're giving insights about, so you need to become an authority in your space. And once you become an authority, the world gives you something. And there was one thing I wanted to say in the beginning, which I forgot, that I want to put here quickly, is this. There are 3 key reasons why people choose you. The first reason is people choose you because they're just looking for something and they landed on you, and that. And sometimes people buy from us, people give us opportunities. We think because we become a big deal, we're happy. We're just the one who was available. They didn't know who else. The second reason is because we are the cheapest. Now they found that there are 4, 5, 6, 10 people offering this, and then they choose us because we are the cheapest. The issue with being the cheapest is that somebody else can always be cheaper than you. But the third reason why people choose is because you're a brand. They choose you because it is you. Sometimes even when our mother sent us to buy something, they gave us instructions and said, make sure you buy from so and so. Can you build your brand to a level that even if you are the one charging more, people still have a reason for choosing you because they know you are the best that exists. You are the one that treats them well. But how do you arrive at that? You knowing your value is one thing, but the world eventually agreeing with the value you carry is where the game changer is. Your brand is not what you say it is. It is what the world agrees that eventually it is. So there is a difference between the time you arrive at this conclusion that this is what I stand for, and then a time frame where the world gets to say, aha, this is now what Nobert stands for. And if you appear online, disappear, if you don't talk to your friends about these things, your status is only for memes, you're mimicking without intentions of building a comedy career, you are a weapon formed against you. And the Bible only promises to protect us against weapons others direct towards us. The Bible is silent about weapons you form yourself. If you're the one forming them, they will eventually work. So you want to be the person who has your best interests. Give yourself the privilege of growth. Give yourself time. You are an answer to problems in the world. And your silence is not an act of humility. It is an act of betrayal to humanity. Back to you, Samuel.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Banio. We're at the top of the hour. There's one question that came through here, and I want you to join it with your closing remarks. The question says, okay, they say, hi, team, I appreciate the session. The patient says, what advice would you give to recent graduates who are building a personal brand but facing challenge in finding mentorship? As you also give your closing remarks.
Okay, thank you. Let me start with that straight away. There is a lot of free mentorship online. Whatever somebody wants to, if a young graduate figures out, okay, I want to do this and that. So somebody maybe who has attended this session, they are gaining a bit of clarity here and there. And then there's YouTube. YouTube is an entire university that has so much. You just need to be able to ask the right questions there. By the time you watch 20 videos on the same subject you're interested in, you're a totally different person as compared to the version of you before you went there. That is one. But then there are people like Samuel Ibanda who are here doing amazingly great work of mentorship. He also has this learning platform that is able to host me today. That's another opportunity for mentorship. But you could also be having other people around your neighborhood. You get to ask questions and people will show up. And as an example, I have a learning platform. I have two major platforms. I have a platform for parents, for boys to men, and that is particularly there for sharing content around raising the boy child. The parents who are there, those who have brought their kids, their boys, that age range 11 to around 20 something, who have already gone through these camps, and they were think around 500 so plus. That is also that. But I have another platform that is for general learning, on which actually Samuel Ibanda is. It's called a Global School of Growth. I think I shared a link here earlier on. We get to talk about personal development, sales, marketing, and we host different sessions. Actually, tomorrow morning we'll be talking about stress, dealing with stress. So there are enough opportunities. The only question is, where are you looking and what are you looking for? And TikTok shouldn't only be for entertainment. It can be a major learning platform, but you must be able to ask the right questions, and those algorithms start to know what you're interested in, and they'll bring you related content and all that. And lastly is I run with my team what we call the MEP Masterclass. What I said prepares people for a life beyond formal employment, but mostly it is about things we did not learn at school and in many homes that today we realize matter out here in society. And we already have the 17th intake since 2023 that began last Sunday. And it will run for 2 months. It's every Sunday and all that. That's also another opportunity. If somebody is willing to spend money, this year it's still 300. It's next year that it rises to 500 during for per person for that. That could also be another platform somebody might explore. But the idea is not really to get you to come through it. I think there are a lot of free learning opportunities. It's only when you think you're ready that you reach out, and then, we're able to put you on the waiting list for the next intake. And my final remarks would be this. I just want to thank Samuel for hosting me. And Samuel, I personally want to thank you for the great work you've done. Because whenever any of us shines our light bright, we serve as permission for other people to shine their own. And other people are able to see their own potential through us and say, if so-and-so can do it, what is stopping me? And we always need other people's light to be able to help turn our candles on, because a candle will not light until there was another source of light. So I want to thank you for what you've stood for in society. And Africa is in urgent need of mentorship programs, coaching programs, conversations of this kind, if we're going to go forward. So I also appreciate that you have this openness to share your platform, because I think we should collaborate more than we compete. On many cases, people are like, because you and I do similar things, somebody would have said, but Nobert seems good at what he does. What if he comes here and then the opportunities that should have been for me, and then they go in his direction? We have a very reckless and useless sense of jealousy and envy as a country, that when the opportunities to collaborate like this without fear, for me, it is such a special honor, and my hope in humanity is restored. I know Africa has a chance, and I'm one of those advocates for the emancipation of Africa, and I will not rest until I have made my contribution. And finally, I would like to thank everybody that made it to this session. There are probably other people who could have shown up, to do what I'm doing and even done it better. Some of you who are here, probably you would have handled this session better than I've done it. And I want to thank you for your support, your appreciation, your humility. And may what you learn, may you go and put it into practice. May you also share it with another person so that it doesn't just stop with you. If any of you wants to reach out to me, I already shared my contact. You just text me a hi, and that we met on this platform. I'm able to keep in touch with you. Should you ever need to reach out to me, I'm available for any consultation. It would be an honor. So back to you, Samuel. Thank you for being a blessing to humanity with your team.
Thank you so much, Mr. Banio, for sharing. And in the comment section, we see quite a number of people appreciating you. I'm glad to see Mr. Horace, who is from Nigeria. I know that Nobert, you and I have tried to look for mentorship from platforms in Nigeria. So always glad to have people like Mr. Horace also follow through these sessions. I think one of the most important things that I would say is building personal brands in this space, especially in the digital world, has helped us cross borders to countries we've never been to. Mr. Horace, who is here, has invited me to speak in Nigeria just from online, something that may not have, like one thing that you've ended with, the idea of collaboration. In pursuing your personal brand building journey, know that you're not going to walk alone. You know that there are people that you're going to work with. And sometimes working with these people may not mean that you're going to seek or get from them. Sometimes it's about giving them. And that's how the world works. We complement each other, and collaboration wins at the end of the day. So myself and the team at the Transformation Professionals Club, we are glad to host you, Mr. Nobert. We know that you're quite busy, and we appreciate the fact that you've given time to this session. It's been very insightful, and you could even see from what we have shared. And I know that we've picked, each one of us has picked one or two things that we're going to implement at the end of the day, as long as we don't just leave whatever we've had here. We need to be able to implement. So thank you so much, everyone who has joined through the session. And thank you so much, all the comments coming through. I just shared randomly our flyer we have a special session that we are doing tomorrow at 10 to midday East African time, targeting people who have just left university. This came through because we've seen quite a number of people get out of university, and the employment world has totally changed. I joined the employment world 10 years ago, but I will tell you that it has totally changed in just these last few years. So we'll be sharing and reflecting how you can survive, how you can thrive, and how you can be able to do great things after your university. And this is a critical time, the time between when you leave university and when you get into the employment world is a very critical time, because this is when you decide upon your life. I started my journey in 2015 when I was just leaving university. I know some people might think I left university some time back, but when I left university, I had an idea of what I needed to do with my life. And that gave me a lot of focus that 10 years down the journey, I'm so much ahead, my peers, as well as my journey, because I made commitment. So I want to share similar thoughts with some people early in the morning tomorrow. So if you know anyone who benefit from this session, please share with them a flyer. You can take a screenshot. I'll also be able to share this on the platform. And those who have joined this session for the very first time, this session has been brought to you by the Transformation Professionals Club. So we are a group, a community of professionals, not just limited to Uganda. We have professionals from across different countries. And our key goal is to help us connect, be able to learn, and grow and earn. So those are the kind of reasons why we show up every day. So thank you so much for coming, and may God bless you. This session has been recorded, so you can access the recording. onto our YouTube channel, and always come around every Friday at the same time. Let's come through and learn and share with each other. In case you benefit from this session, feel free to post it on your social media. Tell us what you've tagged Mr. Banio, Nobert here. You can also tag the Transformation Professionals Club and myself. And let's continuously put this message out there. The way you've learned it, push it to another person, and let's transform the world into a better place than we found it.
Yeah,
So thank you so
Coach
much
Samuel,
for showing up.
Coach Samuel, second,
Yes,
please.
yes, Mr. Horace.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, me and Mr. Nobert. I said I would be in this session, so I had to leave what I was doing to be here, and I got a lot of value. You know, Coach Samuel, I think you need to charge a lot of money for this your club. A lot of money, please. Your members, a lot of money, subscription, a lot of money. In Nigeria, you pay a lot of money for something like this, okay? For you give them value every single day. So if you're on the club, be very, very, very grateful to Coach Sam. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you,
Much
Mr.
love,
Horace.
brother.
Yeah, Mr. Banio, are you still there?
Yes, I'm here.
Yes, I would like you to meet Mr. Horace. He runs, Mr. Horace, is it Beyond Borders?
Yes, that's the new book that's coming out this year.
Yes. So he's running something powerful. I believe that Mr. Banio will be a very good resource on this journey as we continuously inspire and influence and impact the global world.
Coach Samuel, we've known earlier than this. We chat. We even chat.
That is great. That
Yeah,
is great.
we already had a meeting, so being able to meet on this platform again cements that, and I think we'll be able to pick up after here.
Great.
Coach Samuel, the plan, like I said, I've always said before now is that, for Africa to actually scale to where we are or we desire, we need to collaborate a lot, and that's why I'm saying that if you speak to a Nigerian, they will value your presence. GJG, because you are from Uganda, you're Nigerian. If Nigerians speak to Uganda, I have 1,000 persons in Uganda already. They value us more. So, but if when we cross this value and collaborate, we get a lot of persons and a lot of expand our markets. Then we'll talk some other time. So I don't keep the audience waiting here. Thank you very much once again. I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and we're glad that with the internet we can be able to connect virtually and at the same time. Thank you so much, everyone, for showing up, and let's go build out their great personal brands and personal brands that are not just about us, but personal brands that are also impacting and influencing and helping other people out there. So to me and the team at the Transformation Professionals Club, would want to say thank you so much, and may God bless you as you get down into the weekend. Bye-bye.
May God bless you too, Juliet. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Good night to everybody. Good morning, good evening,
Nobert.
depending on here, wherever you're from. Great.
Thank you, Nobert.
Oh, you're welcome.